Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. I have a question for you. How good should your food taste if you're into fitness and you have a mind for weight control, for making sure you don't get too skinny or too fat at any one point in time? How good should your food taste? This is a very pertinent question because how good food is, how tasty it is, hugely determines how much you weigh from eating it. Because if food doesn't taste very good, you eat much less of it in most cases, or rather, you are prone to eat less of it. And if food is really, really fucking amazing and tastes amazing, you are more likely to eat more of it. The biggest underlying cause of the global obesity epidemic of modernity is that food is really fucking tasty and really cheap. Food is tastier than it's ever been before and is cheaper relative to time spent working and thus income than it has ever been before. So we're in a situation of hyper-palatable environments, and thus, if you just ate all the food you thought was tasty until you were full, well, gee whiz, you might end up really, really out of shape. So you have to answer the question of, how good should the average food that I eat taste? It is up to me to pick that food. How do I do it best? 4 points in this regard. First, on average, in general, your food should taste good enough that you check a couple of boxes. First box is that you can meet enough of it to meet the nutritional needs of the phase that you're in. So if your food is super, super bland, you hate eating it, you're trying to maintain a new high body weight after massing, and you just lose weight week after week because you can't stuff yourself enough with this awful food to get enough calories, your food needs to be tastier. Second, you want to make sure that you don't eat so much of your food that it's too much for the phase that you're in. If you're in a fat loss phase, then you don't get to eat as much food. If all of your food is tasty, the temptation to eat too much of it is really, really high. And thus, the probability that you will not lose as much fat as you could because your calories are too high incrementally goes up. No good. Lastly, food is a big part of human enjoyment, and you should look to eat food that is tasty enough that you do get some pleasure out of it, but not so much pleasure that you end up overeating like crazy. So that's a really big deal. More specifically, let's go phase by phase. In a muscle gain phase where you're trying to gain weight and thus muscle, aka bulking phase, massing phase, bulker. I don't know what culture started that. Some Europeans are like, Dr. Mike, you doing a bulker? I'm like, what? Other people, I've heard fat loss phase called cutters. I'm doing a cutter. Another guy, I remember eating for him, he was like, I'm doing a shredder phase. And I'm like Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That was just mildly arbitrary. I'm just being a dick. In any case, as you gain weight over time, your hunger tends to fall. Your body will fight you and be like, bro, why are we gaining weight? This is fucking insane. You will get less and less hungry. So in order for you to continue to eat the needed food and actually higher levels of food, because you have to make sure you account for your increasing body weight, increasing thermogenic activity from gaining weight, you're sort of in the situation where you need to eat more food than ever before, but you're the least hungry for food that you've ever been than ever before. So what you have to do is adjust the tastiness of that food and ratchet it up. If you have tastier food, a lot of this you can do with the same macros through seasonings and spices and cooking methods. Tons of healthy snacks and a few cheat meals every now and again can make sure your food is so tasty that you get enough calories and you actually don't burn out of your massing phase. That whole thing where like people do clean massing with just oatmeal, broccoli, and chicken is fucking insane. Or at the very least, just a good way to be miserable for a longer portion of your life than you'd ever want to be. Number 3, in the maintenance phase, you can have a certain average level of food tastiness that makes it so that you have fun with food, but also don't gain or lose weight. But you can also eat periodic streaks of more bland food to get your weight to drop a little bit, and periodic streaks, let's say Friday, Saturday, of much more tasty, fun food with your friends, gain a little bit of weight, and in the course of the average week or 2 weeks, those two roughly even out. It's your choice which one you want to do. Just make sure that your weekly average is relatively stable, and if it's not, you got to eat some blander foods for longer, cool it on the cheat foods, or if it's dropping too fast, you have to eat some tastier foods in order to make sure it doesn't drop as fast. Lastly, In the fat loss phase, as the fat loss phase gets gnarlier, as your diet fatigue accumulates over the course of weeks and weeks and months of dieting, you have to progressively eat counterintuitively blander and blander foods. Because remember, you're trying to keep your pleasure from food in this midline level. Good pleasure from food, but not so much that I'm tempted to eat too much or suffer psychologically because the food is amazing, but I only get a little tiny taste of it. When you get into your tail end of a fat loss phase, in your heart of hearts, you're going to want tastier food. But what you need is blander food. So you are a logical person with a forebrain and an ability to plan for the future. So plan to eat blander foods and you're just going to have a great time through your diet. Here's the kicker. As soon as your fat loss diet is over and you begin the maintenance phase, make sure you continue to eat those very same bland foods for at least a week after diet is over, but just raise the calories to maintenance calories. At the end of that week, you're going to be like, man, it's actually pretty hard to eat this much food when it's bland. I'm not super hungry or starving. I could eat some tasty foods, but I'm really recovering pretty well from this diet fatigue. When you're able to say that, you can introduce slowly but surely a few tastier and tastier items such that as the maintenance phase proceeds, your food tastiness that you're eating goes up and your body weight stays level the entire time so that you're not redoing or undoing rather the fat loss that you experienced during your fat loss phase. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, please post them below. If you want advanced material and super insightful looks into my training and other people's training behind a teeny tiny paywall, then you can get us in our members area on YouTube. That's a really quick link that you can probably click on right now on your screen. And if you want to go for the big upsell, there's the Team Full ROM forum where you can be on a team with myself and Jared Feather and tons of other people, get your technique cued in, get your videos analyzed, get your training and your diet all sorted out. Huge 24/7 Q&A forum. Hopefully we'll see you there. If not, see you on YouTube and we'll see you next time.